at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
And welcome everybody to our daily gun show. We come to you live every day at 7 p.m. Eastern, that's 4 Pacific, for about an hour and 90 minutes. We have 3 different gun-related subjects every day, different subjects throughout the week, along with our daily things that we hit each day. And let's see, we run it live on YouTube. We simulcast it over at gunchannels.com. We're watching the live comments over on Gun Channels and on YouTube. When it's all over, we'll let it render into a video. We'll take the audio from that and run it as a podcast over on iTunes and Stitcher Radio. So we encourage everybody that's listening to the show now or in the future to leave us some feedback on whatever platform you're listening on so we know where you are. And the comments, the thumbs up, subscribing to our channels and those kind of things, participation in those social media platforms are the kind of things that allow our shows to get recommended to more viewers. So we do appreciate that favor. We have hosts. 3 of us are here today. We've got Dano joining from Illinois. Thanks for jumping in.
Glad I could make it. Almost had another technical issue today, but luckily I was able to resolve it before showtime.
Right on. See, that keeps us all sharp having the show every day. And we got Z jumping in from Maui. Thanks for joining.
Yo!
And then I'm down here in Arizona. So I guess we got Smeggy out there too. I should throw him a link. Otherwise, we don't know where Bob is, but eventually we'll probably have Bob back occasionally, we would hope. But I haven't heard from him. Have you guys heard from him?
Maybe we'll just replace him with Smeggy.
Yep, maybe we'll have Smeggy move to Canada and then be our Canadian.
Well, technically, he's right across the border from it. So, I mean,
Well,
he's right across the river.
Yeah. He lives in a state that likes to claim land, so maybe they'll just claim a portion of Canada.
I mean, like UG Webbs, he does live in a border state.
Yep. An international border state. Everybody lives in a border state. All right, so all that being said, today is episode 245. And is that a caliber?
Because 145 isn't enough. You need 245.
Oh, yeah. We got
243?
Is 245 a caliber, though? I don't think it is. So anyway, it's 245. It's Friday. It means we're talking alternative gun topics. We'll talk about why we might own a machine gun. We'll have a gun business topic or subject. Getting the most out of a gun show, a recurring one of my favorites. And then we wrap up the week and talk about gun deals. And before we get into it, we like to take a break at the beginning, see if anything happened overnight, anything worth talking about.
Absolutely. On the petitions that both we've been talking about, as well as many other chats, as well as YouTube channels, the petitions at whitehouse.gov, in particular, the one to repeal the NFA. I just checked it again. Requires 100,000 votes to get a response from the White House. Currently has over 92,000. It was 83,000 this morning. So, and it only has to hit, another just over 7,000, and it'll hit the minimum mark required to get a response from the White House. So, that's not necessarily a guarantee to get a, change, but, before change, you have to let them know that, hey, this is important to us, and this is step 1. So that's a great thing. So it looks like we're heading in the right direction.
Yep, and we were talking about it a little bit earlier in the early watch today, and I really think there's lots to gain from this one. It would have been one thing if it would have immediately took off, but it didn't, so it's taken off now, and that's going to cause all those 60,000, now 70,000 or 80,000 people that have recently signed it. That gives them something to talk about over the dinner table or at the gun shop or at the gun range. That's a heck of a lot of people to be talking about what they did, right? They're going to be encouraging others now that they're aware of it. They're, that's got that tell a friend type of thing. From the other angle, we got Military Arms Channel is what spurred most of that. We can most of us acknowledge that. Some people think it was the hit or miss show on Tuesday, but basically social media helps get the light the fire under that, or help throw some gas on the fire that was already lit, I guess. But I think that's good because now we're going to be talking about it. Other shows are going to be talking about that phenomenon, and it's going to empower and encourage and um, inspire other people to do the same, right? And I'm sure other people are talking about it on their channels, and that's the kind of fire that catches to make things go viral. So I think this is great in lots of ways.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, let's see. We had a lot of chats last night. Yankee had his chat. Tac Daddy had his. I didn't see that one. And then did the AK-47 chat last night. All kinds of stuff happened in those things. So if you want to check them out, feel free. They're over on the various YouTube channels and iTunes and whatnot.
I'd like to add that just newsflash in here from the chat, and that basically I think it's Chris out there said, great news out of Colorado. Senate Bill 7 passed with a bipartisan vote of 21 to 13 to repeal the misguided 2013 law that limited ammunition magazines to 15 rounds.
Right on. So not only did they get rid of the politicians that forced that shit down, infringed on everybody's throats, but then now they finally coughed that shit up and it's gone. That's good to hear. Do you think Magpul will go back?
Nope. I'm pretty sure they got a good deal with the 2 spots that they went to.
Yeah, and there's no financial incentive for them to. I mean, it costs a lot of money to move.
Oh, wait,
so to make that commitment.
So it's passed the Senate. We forgot that. We didn't focus on that part of it. So it still has to pass the House.
Oh yeah, it didn't get voted in. He just said that it passed the Senate. And then here's the real problem. It still has to get signed by the governor, even after it passes the House. And I don't know that they have a Republican governor. So it's a long way to go, but at least it's moving forward productively. And today was our testimony day for our suppressor for hunting bill in Hawaii. And I think the committee was taking testimony, not necessarily the whole Senate or the House, excuse me. So it's good that these things are being proposed. Whether they succeed or not, that'll be the part that remains to be seen. Of course, if there are any people out there that live in the state of Hawaii, you should definitely contact your congressman and senator.
All right, so I guess we'll dig in. I don't know what they're talking about, the pineapples over there. So we'll dig into the first topic, alternative gun topics. Why own a machine gun? Why would you want to own a machine gun?
Freedom factor.
I think it's very, for me, it's very simple. It's fun. If you think about how much people spend on, let's say they had that 60s car in the garage that cost them, $20, $30, $60,000. And then relate that to how much they're willing to spend just for the fun of it, the collectability, and then look at that as to machine guns of today, just simply because it's fun. That's all that's, I wouldn't even say required, but I mean, but fun is enough.
Yeah, so those people that have the cars like you're saying, or a motorhome or a boat, anything that costs $20,000 range is going to cost something to insure it. It's going to cost something to fuel it. Right, and then you're only gonna be able to drive that thing unless you're independently wealthy and have no, demands on your time. You're driving that thing, playing with that thing on the weekends if you're lucky, or in the evenings potentially. So you're talking about something that's potentially frivolous, right? Like not really necessary, but like you say, for the enjoyment of it and upkeep and everything, that can be very pricey. So we're not talking about something that's even really more than
number one, because I live in America and I can. That might be all of the reason I need for the why portion.
Another thing, and I guess this might be a little bit in the future, but if they were ever to come off the NFA, I think that would open up the market to another added sport to the way that people can enjoy guns. We have all sorts of pistol competitions, 3-gun competitions, running and gunning, and all that sort of stuff, shotgun competitions. That there would simply be a brand new one for that category because there'd be enough people to actually participate with reasonably new firearms and not have to worry about damaging either their 30-year-old, 35-year-old firearm, or something that has some sort of historical significance. So that's something that would literally come out of, I shouldn't say come out of nowhere, but would definitely, I foresee, come about if they were to come off the registry list.
Yeah, there's definitely, I mean, there are already shooting sports for full auto. We have them out here, steel challenges and stuff where people shoot a lot of full autos. But I think going the other way, just, I guess, collector slash curious, interest. So having stuff that is, literally historic and interesting. So the old Sten guns, the old grease guns, the Thompsons, those are all fascinating machines as far as things go. So same reason you might want to own an old motorcycle that's got historic value or whatever. Owning these things is interesting. It's fun as far as a machine goes.
And, maybe it's, I don't know how to translate for people that have never had the experience of firing either a select fire gun or a machine gun, how to translate that experience of that visceral fun of what it's like. It brings that smile to your face.
Well, it's the difference between driving to work on a bus or driving to work on a train, or riding around in a roller coaster, or driving around in a really nice car, or a motorcycle or something. It's just a different experience of the same thing, moving from one place to another. So it's, the difference between shooting a regular gun and shooting a machine gun is, the difference between a nice piece of equipment and a different piece of, less expensive piece of equipment.
You want to drive a Honda Civic, or do you want to drive a Ferrari on the Autobahn? But I see it as definitely a lot of fun, and especially if we can get them off the list, that'll increase the numbers dramatically as well as drive down the cost. And there'll be all sorts of economic activities that will benefit from it.
Well, here
becoming more numerous.
Here's the thing:
more can enjoy
if the NFA dissolves, which is one of the things that we were talking about before the show started, right? That still doesn't allow for the Firearms Owners Protection Act of '86 to change without changing that after the fact. So there still technically would be no new manufactured machine guns allowed until that law is addressed after the NFA. So although they might not be on the list, it still mentions the manufacturer of new. So it's kind of a tag team. We're going to have to do the Hughes as well.
Well, we may indeed have to, and without having a lawyer present, it's difficult to say, because a lot of these laws are built like a pyramid. You have a base layer, you have a middle layer, you have a top layer, and if suddenly you pull out the middle layer, the top layer is going to fall, and it's difficult to say what's going to stay in place and what will fall.
I'd say it's more like pickup sticks. I mean, the way you're using your analogy, it's almost like there's some rhyme or reason to it and their logical order. But it's almost like pickup sticks where they touch each other and they rely on each other, but there's like some weird delicate balance, but there's little rhyme or reason to most of it. It's like an accumulated spaghetti that's just occurred over the year.
Also, like to your point, G, about the pickup sticks, because that if you always remember, wasn't the one end always sharp of those, right? On pickup sticks? Okay. So here's the deal. Like we get the NFA, right? But we still get screwed technically on Russian machine guns, on real AKs. Because why? Because the stupid 68 thing. We still technically get screwed on, say, a new Chris Vector.
Well, I don't know. So I know what you're trying to say there.
Because of those extraneous rules is all I'm trying to say. So one just doesn't do it all, but it would be a great step in that direction. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it is useless or worthless or anything like that. I am not saying that. I'm saying it's going to be necessary. I'm saying that we're not lawyers, and I don't think that's how it is. I think once you remove the NFA, since Title II requires Title I and Title I requires Title II, when you remove Title II,
I don't know where any of the Hughes Amendment attaches to anything. I think that's what Jan was trying to say too. So
Yes.
there's linchpins, in other words, and the NFA might be one of those linchpins that once there is no registry, then nothing can require you to register, or nothing can prohibit you to have something that is a non-existent thing. So I'm not sure how a lawyer would see that all, what do you call it, like decompiling or disassembling.
Yeah. But inevitably, this is one major battle with others to follow. I mean, it's not a one and done situation. And I agree with you, Z, on that there's going to be other battles to fight.
Yeah, that's all I was getting at. I mean, and here's the thing: we still won't have it until we, at the very least, have the NFA. Like that will be, if not the number one, that'll still be one of the most important ones for sure. But as far as why own a machine gun, and I want to stand by the original answers, because we can, because we live in one of the greatest motherfucking countries in the goddamn planet. That's why, right there, because you can legally, gentlemen.
All right. Well, if we're just talking to ourselves as gun owners, I guess that works. If we're looking at it from the angle of justifying it or justifying the change in law, I don't know. Do we want to look at it from that angle? And then I doubt, because we can.
I mean, that's where it came from, the angle of recreational usage, fun. I mean, and with recreational usage, people spend their money, whether it's on ammo or whether it's on some sort of sport that comes out of it.
Well, see, and I guess I misread the question, because I thought it said, why own a machine gun? I didn't realize it to why own a machine gun to be able to explain to somebody else.
Oh, you're right. It just, the conversation kind of vexes and...
But I mean, I understand where G's coming from. I totally understand where you're coming from. I'm just saying, if it's a basic answer, but now I have to explain myself to somebody, then why?
You just have to justify your stuff, your position.
Yeah, I've never liked the idea of having to justify or the word need. But when having a conversation with that other side, which we may need to sway a few, we're going to need to explain ourselves.
Yeah, our goal is to win them over, not to walk away with some kind of technical victory that is really no victory at all, right?
Just going to be bitter about it. If they don't let us, then I'll just be bitter.
Let us. Let us.
Yep. Well, now wait a minute. We just described need and having to explain ourselves, so I guess that would mean that we are explaining them to them, so they let us. Is extrapolating your statement?
No. So you explain it to someone so that you use effective communication, so that they no longer waste their effort and their breath trying to take something away from us. We don't have to let them. They don't have to let. We don't have to get their permission. But
I also don't have to explain it to them.
Well, all right. Then no. I guess I'm trying to say that there's something to be gained from not having to be confrontational with them all the time.
You know, that works both ways, doesn't it?
I mean,
why do I always have to be the one that's non-confrontational when I'm the one eating a shit sandwich every fucking day?
Let me give you an example. Let's say that you are in the House of Representatives on the federal level, and you are proposing a change to the law. To get people to vote for your bill, you have to tell them why it's a good idea. What benefits are there out there, including benefits for people that may not necessarily want to enjoy your idea?
Tax revenue generated.
Okay, well, you just give them a why. I mean, I don't know if that's enough or not, but that's the essence of it. Is as if we were trying to pursue others who were in the middle ground. Is there some that'll just say no matter what? But for those that are willing to possibly move to one side or the other, how do we convince them to mosey on over to our side just for this vote?
Well, nobody wants to hear the real reason, which is Chinese invasion of the mainland from Hawaii.
And it can start with, because it's a constitutional right, but then we got to, like a sandwich, we got to add layers to it. As far as the why. Why? Because it's a constitutional right, not a privilege. That's number one. And then you go to number two with some of the other things that have been mentioned.
Why? Because we love you. MOUSC.
With 308.
Specs, do you got a reason why own a machine gun?
So where Bob chimes in and settles it for us. Come on.
Why own a machine gun? Because they're awesome. You don't need another reason than that.
See? It's as simple as that.
Why do you own a sports car? Why do you own a private jet? Why do you own a big screen TV? Why do you own a yellow duck on your porch? Because you want to. Doesn't matter.
Why do I have a girlfriend, a wife, and a mistress?
What?
Because you're dumb. If that's the case, dude, you're gonna get caught.
Well, that only implies if you care, right? It falls back on the because you can, because life is awesome, and that just makes life more awesome. A la the machine gun analogy.
So it sounds like Smeggy fell back to my original statement was because it's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's. I don't know. I mean, if that's just looking for one reason or something. I'm sorry, I kind of jumped in halfway through. I'm not quite sure exactly what's going on, but yeah. I mean, that would be like if someone asked me, that'd be my number one reasons because it's cool. Like that's just. There probably are other reasons, though. I don't know.
Well, do you want to fall to the defend against the tyrannous government? Do you want to use the defend against the potential foreign invasion? Do you want to?
Well, those are parts of it, but I don't know. Like, I don't know. Are we talking to someone who's not a gun dude, and they're like, "Well, why do you even need one?" Because when you start saying that, they turn their brain off. Conversation's over. So as much as I agree with that type of stuff, you just turn into a crazy gun nut when you say stuff like that. And so if you're talking to the dude who owns a shotgun or the guy who doesn't own any guns and just wants to know why should I care about full auto, you don't want to say because the government's coming for you because they're just going to walk away from you. It's a reality. They don't care. So it's not the best.
Well, now technically, no, wait. These days, you might be able to convince a liberal of that.
It's possible, but they do enough gymnastics. I mean, I saw a meme of it where it was like, oh, the government will never become tyrannical, ... Trump is literally Hitler. Like, those two thoughts can't exist at the same time, but that's what they think.
Exactly. And, I agree with you. When you try and explain to them that it is technically your right, and everything like that, I agree with you that sometimes that's not going to be the answer they want to hear. You want to tell them defense of home and family. They're going to be, well, who are you defending your home from? That and they'll always fall back on the need. Why do you need one? And that's not the actual question of why do I need a machine gun. That's not what the question is. The question is why own one. So
because I have a right.
Well, and here's the other thing, you get to say as a potential investment, as one hell of a poker chip, so to speak. It's like there has to be genuine, legit reasons.
I mean, that's
you have a right to own an avocado tree or whatever. You have a right to own a steam shovel, but you don't. So there's other things. There's hardly anything that you buy just because you have the right. So I understand what you're saying, and that's a position, but I don't know if it's really the answer or an accurate answer, right?
Right. And I agree with you that they're going to walk away from that. They, like Smeggy was just talking about, when they turn their ears off or their brain off or whatever. It's like that's one of the things where, if they just disagree that it is your right fundamentally, well, then it's going to be the same thing as if you just said tinfoil hat style, defend against invading aliens. And I'm talking about from outer space, of course.
Well, in any discussion, there's a time to know when to stop wasting your time and energy and reapply it in another place where it's more likely to get at least someone who's honestly going to listen to the issue.
All right. Well, so if you have a position and you bring that position up every time you have a certain conversation or a conversation with a certain type of person, and then you continually get the same reaction and you continually use the same position or the same statement and you get the same reaction, same statement, same reaction, who's really wasting whose time there? I suggest
you the person.
I suggest that we know what's not going to work. So we don't get to just fall back on the position of, well, they don't agree with what I agree with. So I don't want to waste my time. I think maybe we should figure out ways that we can talk to them. So I want to address it in another way. And I think it's kind of a hybrid of what you guys have kind of said. But instead of just defaulting to that it's my right or because I might want it to enjoy it or whatever, be as accurate as possible. Like, why do you own a machine gun? Because it allows you to shoot multiple bullets at one pull of the trigger, which allows you to do lots of things, not just a belt-fed, tripod-mounted heavy machine gun. It allows you to have, for example, a shotgun that you pull the trigger and two things come out. It allows you to have one of those pepper boxes where 5 barrels might go off. They might be really tiny bullets, but that's a historic thing that, just because of laws or whatever, is not legal now. So it opens up all kinds of interesting ways for this machine to work that right now are prohibited. It is just thoroughly enjoyable to go out to the range and pull the trigger on a belt-fed gun and shoot at a target, especially steel targets that make noise. And you can understand how that might, and you were talking to somebody here who's asking us the question, you can understand how that might be more fun than driving a Volkswagen to work, compared to driving a convertible out in the mountains on the weekend. Like, you do it for the enjoyment of the doing it, and to shoot semi-auto on a weekend when you're trying to enjoy yourself is like taking your Volkswagen out on your joyride instead of your convertible Mustang.
Well, and I have a question. As of the political climate, right now is one that we do have somewhat of a potential to get things pushed through or passed, right? I mean, technically, this could be one of those things that could potentially happen over the next 2 years. And if it actually becomes law or dissolves the other law, where they would then have to create another law in order to take them away again from you in the future, that if we have the numbers to do that, I don't know why, again, I have to explain it to somebody that doesn't want to listen to what I have to say. I agree with you in that it's better to be able to come up communicatively with something that you can have a 2-way discussion or a 3-way discussion about it. I definitely agree that is much more a positive way to go about it. But also, I would like to utilize the time that we have currently to be able to get a few more things accomplished potentially, and not necessarily worry so much about what the other guy is thinking, crying, or worrying about. Now, granted, that makes me insensitive, but right now, I'd like to see us get a few things done.
Good strategy, because we can always push what we can while the opportunity is here to push. And then once they're going to challenge us or cry about it, we have all the time in the world to have conversations about why.
Exactly. And like I said, I know that, that's kind of a dick move or something like that. But at the same time, they've been doing it to us for a long time. And I would have to say both parties even. Like, literally, this right now is a chance to be able to do what it is that we want done for once in like the past, 20, 30 years, maybe.
Well, I get what you're saying as far as wasting time arguing with like an anti-gunner or something. You probably won't change their mind. But I think the key is in the middle people. The people that either they have a couple guns, they don't really care, or they don't own anything, but they're not anti, they're just not pro. Convincing them so that, when they get, I don't know, a survey, or when they have a chance to, they're probably not politically active, but whatever, they talk to their representative or something, that they don't squander that as being anti-gun, that's where I look at it. You convince the people in the middle, you don't want to own one, don't own one, I don't care, but don't take it away from me type of thing. And if they're cool with that, that's what we need to have.
Right.
Well, and then Spags, think about this. You say for whatever reason, like any one of us on this panel was able to own and be able to feed a machine gun, right? And at one of our ranges that we have in one of our areas or whatever, which allows for it or what have you, that we take some of these middle of the road people that you're talking about, Smegs. There's a reason they call it a giggle switch. And I think that, if you were able to take some of those middle people out under, controlled circumstances and everything like that, where it's, appropriate level of safety is being had and all that jazz, that, man, you want to convince somebody that they're cool and that they're fun or that they're awesome, you get them to the range with one of those things. And I got a feeling, one of the writers, for I think SAR, Small Arms Review, was at our range, and he had the 9mm. I think it's a Papa Shah or whatever. It's like it's a circle drum, but it's a Russian and it's 9mm. I heard that thing go off. The drum was empty, and I had a belly laugh going, and I was like 2 or 3 stalls down. It was just it's one of those things, like it's contagious, like contagious laughter kind of a thing. Like it did my heart good, warm and fuzzy, all that kind of stuff. So now, granted, I am definitely pro firearm, so I mean, I'm gonna probably respond in that way to a lot of things like that. But I just got a feeling that if we can get them to the range with some of those things, that there's the potential for them to be like, well, geez, this was a lot of fun. This wasn't such a big deal. It didn't turn me into, indestructible warrior or whatever,
Well, if you can get somebody to the range, you've already won half the battle there, and they've also proven that they have at least an open mind to the concept. But when just discussing it, I think it's also just important to discover who that person you're talking to, as to where is your time individually worth putting in. Is this person that has an open mind? If they're willing to consider going to the range, that's a person that's in the middle. If they're saying, no, I have no interest, I don't want to go, they're just, if you can tell it's all emotional, then put your seeds in more fertile soil, because that's not going to grow anything except weeds.
And again, I'm going to fall back on that. This is the time right now to make our push, gentlemen. This is the time to get some of those things either erased or changed, and make them work harder at it in the future if they want it.
Right, which is why, after February 19th, we're going to roll straight from pushing one particular petition on into pushing the next thing, and then the next thing, and then the next thing, because you're exactly right. We only have, at least for sure, less than 2 years to try to get as many issues in front of the president as possible. Can't force him to do anything, but we can force him to at least acknowledge the issues of what our wants are.
Yep. Well, and let's not forget, there's still the Hearing Protection Act trying to go through. There's other stuff trying to be pushed through, let alone to dissolve the ATF. I mean, so like there's definitely a few things going on. We just need to stay on top of it. We need to realize that it shouldn't be a divisive issue of why own a machine gun, because I've heard pro-gun people tell me, well, what do you need that for? Like, it's a waste of money. It's a this, it's a that. And I just usually disagree with them. I'm like, man, some people like chocolate and some people like vanilla. That's all. Some people eat an M&M one at a time. Some of them just open the bag.
I think you hit on a good thing there. Good time to transition out of this one into the next subject, but that's really the crux of it. When we're talking full auto, we're talking about a divisive issue for firearms owners, because not only do we have to justify it to the antis, and it's potentially a difficult one for them to wrap their minds around. And one of the reasons it's so difficult is because it also divides gun owners. Like Z just mentioned, there's plenty of them that don't see the necessity or the justification for it. And if we have to deal with our own ranks not being in alignment, then that's it's a tough fight. So I think that's one of the reasons why it's such an efficient one, or such an effective one, or such an opportunity. We get full autos. I guess I'll wrap up with another reason I say why own a machine gun, because by owning a machine gun, or at least acknowledging that you don't have a problem with your neighbors owning a machine gun, it means you live in a society where you absolutely do not fear your neighbors. Now, we live in that society already. We have 8,000-pound machines that we drive around when we're 16 years old, or sometimes less. We have poisons, we have gravity, we have high buildings and ledges and rocks and things that are definitely lethal, and nobody kills each other with them at all, really. And nobody has any fear of any of those things. When it comes to a machine gun, which makes it slightly easier to kill people, we have this like massive perception issue. So I think that the idea that if you live in a society where everyone's free to own machine guns and everybody's chill with that, that's a society I want to live in. And that's really what the United States is. Up until 1934, that's the country we lived in. And ever since then, you start getting bigger state, you get bigger obligation and bigger, looking to the state to do things for you, and that's where you start to see these removals of individual freedom. So I think it's an example of individual freedom, a real example. So by having legal full auto ownership, it's a statement, and even if you don't participate in it or you don't see the need, when you acknowledge that you're not afraid of your neighbor to own these things, that's taking this country to a different level, right? That's taking society to another level. That's why I think it's important.
I definitely agree with you on that.
All right, with that, we're going to move on to the next subject.
Is it time to put on a windbreaker?
Seek cover for sure. Go to the root cellar.
That's right. It's time for the tactical pop quiz of the day. I know you've all been waiting patiently, and it has finally arrived. So those of you over on YouTube, get your cursor down into the text box, get your fingers limber. Those of you over on gun channels, certainly do the same. My official, have you seen the question as well as the answer for today?
Yes, sir.
All right, I will read the question twice, so please pay attention closely. Front Sight Training is located in what city and state? Front Sight Training is located in what city and state?
G-Webs, look at that answer, please.
It's right.
Okay.
Kind of.
Is it half right or is it whole right?
Believe it.
It's right enough. It's right enough,
Okay.
in my opinion.
It's on the website. And if the website says that, then that's what it is.
Oh, we still have no guesses. Okay.
I got a ticker tocker.
Las Vegas, Nevada is incorrect.
Scars.
Pahrump, Nevada, though.
Scars.
Yeah, but I have another Pahrump, Nevada. So Scars was the first one to say Pahrump, Nevada.
Correct.
Okay.
Definitely.
So that's what we are going with. That is the answer then?
That's what Dano has in there, doesn't he? What is he?
No, that is not what he has in there. That's why I was asking earlier.
It's in the show notes.
Well, why'd you put Arizona? I didn't scroll all the way over to see why the hell he would have put Arizona in there.
Yeah, I don't know, and I didn't know that there was a Pahrump, Arizona. I knew there was a Pahrump, Nevada, though.
There is no.
Okay, if it's Nevada, then I stand corrected.
Okay,
Oh,
so then
man,
it's.
are you kidding?
Scars.
Yeah,
Scars.
Mr. Cheesedale.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is this Universe of the Perfect?
Clearly not.
All right,
So
we need a.
So anyway, Scars 187, right? Yes. Yes. Scars 187, that makes you the Tactical Pop Quiz winner for today. Last one of the week, potentially. Good job. Today being the Friday show. Scars 187, that makes you the Tactical Pop Quiz hot shot for today. So good job.
So congratulations, Scars. Head on over to dailygunshow.com/popquiz and fill out the form. Put your first, second, and third choice, just in case one of the others are already taken. And congratulations, Scar.
And Chris, on the gun channel side, you were right there. Scars literally just had it maybe 5 seconds or more earlier than you. You were like right there.
And I apologize to my co-host for having the wrong state. So it was what, Nevada?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I've
That's
corrected
okay,
the database.
We have a new hashtag, Universe of the Perfect.
Nice. I like that. I did watch
Is
Battle
that
Beyond the
people just
Stars
walking
last
around
night.
with Glocks everywhere, or what?
So now Dano has two original sayings: new school, old school. Universe ain't perfect. And what's your store number?
Wait, now you just changed it to Universe ain't perfect. Universe of the perfect.
Oh, universe.
Yes.
Okay, of the perfect.
As in, this isn't.
All right.
All right. So anyhow, I'm shutting down I had an auxiliary YouTube one going here to remind people about the show. So I'll turn that one off so the people on YouTube can know that. And then we'll go back to the show notes. So let's see. So that was the first subject of the day. We're getting into gun business now. We're going to be talking about getting the most out of a gun show. But before we go into the second segment of the show, we like to take a break between the first and second segment of the shows to talk about one of the members over at Gun Channels. Gun Channels is a place we built a while back. Gunchannels.com. It's a community focused on firearms. Plenty of things to do over there. It's completely membership driven. And with that in mind, we like to feature one of the members every day. This week, we've been featuring members who ran shows over on Gun Channels. And today, it's somebody who's no longer around, Stone Guy. And was it Stone Guy 223?
Yes.
Numbers of people.
Nope.
But,
Yep.
Was, a regular member for a long time. I certainly always enjoyed him. He had an interesting sense of humor. He also had a background in law enforcement, so he brought that to the group, along with a background in competitive shooting. And so he always had a lot of interesting perspectives, as well as a kind of a humorous personality. He always had some interesting jokes and so forth.
Yep, Mr. Stone Guy. I know that he'd been in the external chat at one point in the past couple of months, but I also know it was for a very short amount of time, and he definitely did not jump into the chat itself.
But he's still a part of the foundation, and
oh yeah,
still sorely missed.
Dude, he had the knack of being, back when it was topic specific shows, to always get the guest from the previous show that was just on. Like Stone Guy ended up with Jaeger. Stone Guy had a bunch of people roll through his after chats.
And can we say who made sure that Jaeger never came back?
Well, that's unimportant, and we're not necessarily talking about that person, because that actually had nothing to do with Stone Guy.
Oh, no, it had nothing to do with him.
But I think the idea of the after chat type of thing, that was kind of the start of the lobby, right? I mean, that was, you had certain people that were more guest oriented or topic oriented, and then there was always another chat that was just people kind of BSing in between the two or after or whatever. And that's kind of what the lobby is now, is people can just jump on and talk about whatever.
I would kind of agree with that.
So I appreciate him for that contribution. I think I've only ever been in one chat with him. He was kind of on his way out when I first started jumping into chats, but I definitely watched him a bunch of times on the other podcasts. So and I don't have as much personal knowledge of him, but
for a long time, guy. Matt, Never Enough Ammo, relied on him to end his chats.
On that note.
Yep.
That's the thing I find least appealing about Stone Guy, but we'll keep going, I guess.
Well, here's the thing, if Stone Guy ever does get a chance to come back to Gun Channels, that would be great. If he doesn't end up getting a chance to come back to the Gun Channels, just wish him all the best.
Yep. Because no one here is perfect.
We don't live in a universe of the perfect.
In this universe, at least.
The universe is imperfect.
All right. Let's go on to the next subject, which is getting the most out of a gun show. So, gun show is pretty cool. I like them. And we talked a little bit, I think, yesterday about, or was it at the AK chat? I think it was in the AK chat. We talked a little bit about collecting oil cans, the little cans that hold lube or cleaning fluid, maybe, for an AK. And those things are inexpensive. They're like $3. So that's one way I think of getting the most out of a gun show is if you're paying.
What did you just say?
Right, the little cans that would come with an AK, so they would get like an oil cleaning kit and a can of solvent or a can of lube. They look like a
the little oiler, almost like a little flask, almost kind.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I gotcha. Okay, now I got you now.
So I'm just saying those things are inexpensive. They're usually a couple of $3 or something. So if you're going into a gun show and you're paying to get in, try to find something that's in the $3 range to collect or to bring home, and then that way you're, especially something like that, which is going to be tough to buy in a catalog, or you don't want to pay for shipping or something, especially when it's sight unseen. You want to make sure that you're getting one that has different markings or a different pattern or something than what you already have. So anyway, those are the kind of things that can help you make the most out of a gun show. So
I had a question on your specific subject that you just mentioned, if I may. You know a lot about AKs. I'm going to defer to your knowledge on this. If you know, you know. If you don't know, you don't know. That's fine. I know that you've seen several different AKs from several different places, pretty much all over the world. Do the cleaning kits vary in components from country to country, or is it relatively uniform? The cleaning kits, the little like bullet or whatever.
Both. It's mostly consistent, and then there's a couple of countries that said, "Okay, Gunshow, we're doing our way we want."
Okay, well, and so to me, that would be one thing that I would like to do research into and find what the difference was, the countries, or what was the difference in the tooling or tools that would come with it, because that would be something that I would like to find at a gun show sometime. To get the most out of a gun show, because like you said, it's only going to be what, $5, maybe $10 for those cleaning kits.
Cleaning kits, yeah, more. But I was talking about oil cans, but anything like little accessories like that. And then you start talking about other guns, bayonets for guns, or I don't know, the pouches or belts and stuff like that. There's tons of things you can collect. You can collect patches, for crying out loud. Those are $5 or $6. And again, who wants to pay for shipping? If you can go to a gun show and get all your favorite morale patch places, that somebody has there, or I don't know, survival stuff, little things for like waterproof matches or compasses and little things like that. All that stuff is a pain or is annoying to pay for shipping. And if your surplus stores don't have them, stock up on that stuff at gun shows, and like I say, offset that admission price.
There you go. I'm going to go kind of a different route on that question as far as getting the most out of it. I would say, talk to a bunch of people and, just get some good conversations going, get some information. If you see a dude at a table who has a bunch of, World War II stuff, there's always those guys that have all the collectible type things. He probably has some pretty good stories too, you know what I mean? So it's like you can get intangible things from the gun show as well, making new friendships or just cool stories or whatever.
Are you with the right lady, so to speak, if either she wants to take you to the gun show as a present for you, or if she's willing to go to the gun show with you? And when I say going to the gun show, I'm not talking about, are we leaving yet? Are we leaving yet? I'm talking and going and enjoying the whole experience.
Well, that's a good point as far as getting the most out of it. Don't go with someone, and I won't be as sexist as you. I'd say just don't go with anyone.
I was just trying to be a cheap date. That's all I was doing, dude. I was trying to find the right one where it would be a cheap date and we go get a burger or something afterwards. But again, it has to be the right lady, because I tell you what, right now, you're going to spend that on that? What time are we going to leave? Are you done? I'm tired of walking. Just all of those things that can lead in.
And the same thing with friends that maybe aren't that into guns or kids or whatever. I mean, if you got someone tugging on your shirt saying, "Come on, let's go, this is stupid," then you're not going to have much fun.
So getting the most out of the gun show might include having a tag team partner then, right? Is that what we're kind of saying?
Or going alone.
Well,
because if you take your time.
Well, but again, your tag team partner is the same goal, and I think that's what Smeggy and I were talking about, is somebody that actually wants to go, wants to hang out, because you can cover technically either twice as much ground or twice as fast. So,
yeah, I went through a Wanamaker's gun show with Foose, but we live literally 3 states apart from each other. But I didn't, and there was nobody locally that was interested in going to Tulsa with me.
So that is an example of the tag team partner that I'm talking about then, yes?
And it worked out. I'm just saying that it's not always possible. So if it's not, don't let that stop you. Just go alone, because you can still, take your time.
You're saying Foose will show up.
Nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Mr.
If you say his name 3 times, he just shows up at any gun show you're at.
Yeah.
Broomtastic over on the YouTube side says his girl goes with him and has a blast. And now, see, to me, that's excellent, because you get to spend time together there. It's not a where you been all day type of thing when you get home and all that. So,
one guy whose chick don't like him going, or doesn't go to gun shows with him, and that's only because she grew up going to gun shows with her dad and she just doesn't care anymore.
Okay.
Not against him. Maybe that's a location thing.
I would say so.
Maybe that's just the way you fellas treat your women. But out here, most women I know are they dig gun shows. They don't mind going.
Well, that's
Yeah.
good to know. And you probably just got an influx of people moving to you where you're at, to your location.
Well, a woman's experience with firearms is most likely
Nobody wants to move to
from
Arizona.
her father. Long before you ever meet her.
I cut you off. What did you say, Darren?
I said a woman's impression of firearms is most likely to be imprinted from her experience with her father, rather than you, the boyfriend.
Oh my God, I can't believe I had him reiterate such a sexist thing.
I was about to say that when you asked him, what do you say again?
Yeah.
I was about to say,
Like,
something
no one's ever
sexist.
heard of the concept of role models.
I think all sorts of people can learn guns from all sorts of other different types of people. And let's just leave it at that.
Hey, Dano, guess who's the first person that handed me a Dano? Guess who's the first person that handed me a firearm in my entire life? Just guess.
Your grandma.
Nope.
Well, how old were you at the time?
Big sister.
5 or 6, and it was a 357 6-inch nickel-plated Smith & Wesson.
The girl next door.
Some lady at a truck.
It was probably a relative.
Yes, it was my mother.
Aunt.
It was my mother.
Aunt.
And for
Because
males,
guess what? Because that was her gun.
right? Females learn. Okay, I don't want to really get off into the subject, but females.
Yeah, let's
learn
not get
about
down the
male
weeds, dude. It's
relationships through their
fine.
father.
But
Males learn about female relationships through their mother. You dragged me into it, so now I had to get it out there.
Oh, you're still drowning, bro. I haven't handed you the stick to pull yourself out
it's
yet.
all good.
Oh no, I'm
Let's roll.
perfectly happy.
So
sitting on
gun
the
shows
couch
are
all by
fun
myself.
if you go with people who like to go to gun shows.
There you
Whatever
go. And that
sex,
helps
breed, or
you get the
orientation they
most.
are.
Yep, I agree with you. Because that's it, Smegs. Because if you're going with somebody that likes that kind of stuff, it will help you get more out of a gun show. Whether you end up staying longer than you might have, whether they either talk you into or out of a potential either wise or foolish purchase,
Oh, well,
depending on which way you want to look at that.
no true friend will talk you out of buying anything. I mean, come on.
Well, what if it
Even
was
if
a
it's
foolish
bad
purchase?
He's gonna laugh at you after the fact and be like, "I
Okay.
can't believe you bought that stupid thing."
You might be right on that. Actually, that is kind of that is a potential.
No. You want to have your friends' backs. Come on.
Well, and that's what I'm wondering is like, hey, man, just because it has Bulgaria etched into the side of that 100-round drum, guess what? That doesn't make it real. I'm using that as a specific
good point. Then is bring extra knowledge, right? That's a way to get more out of the gun show. If you have friends that know more about one type of thing, and you know more about something else, you can build off each other and be like, "Oh yeah, that's actually a good deal for this," or I guess you're right. I would talk someone out of buying like
for something
really bad
to find. You want to get there as early and on the first day.
I'd probably be inclined to agree with you on that, except for the small occasion, and I mean very infrequent, where if it's the 3-day or whatever, sometimes all of their stuff doesn't get out on their table the first thing, which kind of sucks sometimes.
And
sometimes it's that second day where it comes out or whatever,
And the traditional thing for best deal is the guy, as he's sitting there and he's thinking about leaving or he's already starting to pack up his stuff, is to try to hit him up and say, "Hey, do you happen to have anything like such and such?" And he might have it already in a box.
Right. And now, Dano, you as an example in my mind, that arsenal. That to me is potentially getting a whole lot out of a gun show.
Yes. And that was just having some information, and it was all surrounded by other firearms, used firearms. It was literally a diamond in the rough, but you had to be able to have the knowledge to be able to recognize that, hey, there's all these used firearms over here, but hey, there's something different about this odd one over here. Whether it's a pistol or a rifle doesn't really matter.
Yep.
But knowing enough to say, hey, there's something different. And the first thing I did was I started sending text messages off to people I knew that had more information than I did. I didn't have them with me, which would have been nice, but unfortunately they weren't in the same state and at the gun show. which is having, being able to text pictures and things like that to people while you're at a gun show who may be literally out of state to validate that, yes, this is the deal you think it is, or no, it's not the deal you think it is. And I found that very helpful.
Well, it always helps to have a AK aficionado phone number as well.
Yes, it does. Of course, he was kind of asleep at the time, but
Don't call me.
Well, we were just saying getting the most out of the gun show. That just happened to be an example of one way in which Dano got a little more out of the gun show.
No, that's a good
Yes.
idea. Knowing your resources, so bring friends with you if you're going to go for something specific that has knowledge, or I guess you could text people, but that's risky because a lot of shows are out in the county or in a building or whatever where there's no texting. So they're notorious for being in places with poor coverage, so I wouldn't rely on that.
Truly.
well, I had asked the guy at the table if he was cool with me taking a picture and sending the information to my friend. And he said, sure.
Well, that helps too. Getting the most out of the gun show. Don't walk around with a sour look on your face, acting like a jerk either.
That's a good idea.
Be pleasant if at all possible.
So I don't know how much time we got. Dan's got to jump out of here, I think, but I don't know how long we want to keep digging into this one. I know we've dug into it before, but some of the things I like to go to that I'm coming up with off the top of my head are, let's see. So like Smeggy said, consider it more than just a buying opportunity. A lot of times there's politicians there and you get time with them because they're there for the duration, and most people don't give a shit that they're there. It's not like a typical political thing for them. They're definitely going to be in the gun mode. And when you're talking to them about some boring gun thing, they're there being reinforced by all those other people that give a shit potentially about what you care about. So that might be a really good time to get some FaceTime with a politician or any really level of public servant, because sometimes sheriffs and stuff will set up at these things. When any kind of politician who thinks they can have something to gain from outdoorsmen or gun people, they might be there. You got your local organizations, Arizona Citizens Defense League, the Arizona Rifle will sometimes set up, NRAs usually set up out front. So you have opportunity not just to talk to these organizations, but the individuals in your area who front those organizations. So like Dan Dewey is the guy that has been doing the NRA signups here in Arizona, Southern Arizona, for I think as long as I've lived here, for 20 something years. And a couple of times he's been, I think, like in the top 5, if not higher, in number of proceeds he's brought in or whatever, like number of funds raised for the NRA. Like, he does extraordinary work and he's dedicated to it. He spends all of his time. He's one of these guys that his whole truck is like covered with NRA type of stuff. He does tons of raffles where he goes to the gun shops around town, and I think he has arrangements with pretty much every gun shop, at least every gun shop I know of, except for a few douchebags. Will give him guns basically at cost, or they'll even lose money. I know Tucson Guns personally has given him guns that just they weren't selling in the store, and they know that when a gun is just sitting there that they can give it to Dan and he'll turn it into money for the NRA or the 4-H or something like that. Anyway, Dan's a hell of a guy, and he's at all these shows. So if you think of the show as just a place to get cheap ammo and you're in and out, you're doing yourself a disservice. Hang out and talk to some of these people. These are some of the most dedicated advocates we've got. A lot of stuff to learn from them. These guys have been doing it for decades, so they know what it's like before the internet, which you might also be able to do. What I've tried to do with some of these guys, and I wish I could say was more successful, is offer your assistance to them, right? We have skills and knowledge and just working knowledge of how these internets and social medias work. These old guys that you might meet at a gun show aren't interested in that shit. So why would they have any experience with it? More often than not, they probably have lots of interesting stuff that could be got out there that just they have no interest in getting it out there. So if you're, again, listening to our show as a budding content creator or somebody who's thinking about creating content, there is an unlimited potential for content at a gun show, from the stuff to the people's stories to just everything you can think of going on in a gun show. The people that run the place, the facility that it's in, each individual booth is going to be manned by a person or two who's got all kinds of crazy stories about guns, probably. So lots and lots of potential, not to mention all the people walking up and down the aisles. So I guess that's what I would like to say is think of the gun show as more than just a place for buying and selling, but also just a place where a lot of gun people are getting together for 2 days, and think about some of the networking and conversations you can get.
Yeah, what he just said. You know what, though, G? I know we're going to come back to this at another point in time on another show, for sure, because it's just one of those things where whether we come up with a new idea or we reiterate some of the tactics that we've discussed already, or we add the folding golf chair. Like I was surprised Dano didn't mention. Getting the most out of your gun show. If you got to take a break for a second and sit down, and there's no chair, it's always nice to have one of those little things. But since we want to continue to promote gun shows, because they do seem to almost be a dying breed, hopefully over the next 2 to 4 years, we can continue to rally these gun shows and hopefully make them productive enough for promoters to want to continue and potentially expand.
Man, I wish I could say I agree with you. I mean, I definitely have that goal, and I'm going to do what I can, especially if I can get this damn van in 3 days. So I need to put out a push, I guess, again, for everybody's auction karma to, use your well wishes to prevent people from bidding against me. I'm really close to my maximum, and I still got a few days on this damn van. But if that's the case and I can get it out on the road, then I do want to check out some of these shows, because there's tons of stuff going on at these things.
Well, and we've discussed in the past where I don't want to call it a fear, because sometimes fear is irrational, but there could be a point in time where there just gets to be less and less gun shows. It sucks to say that, but
well, there definitely will, I think. I mean, unfortunately, but I guess that's what I'm saying. There's so many people out there that are going out of reflex or habit or something, but it's almost like they're going through the paces. So I'm hoping to get out there and jazz people up. I mean, really, the promoters are what we look at the show, and I think so many people look at the stuff, the people that are set up at the show. Although when I go to a show and I talk to a lot of the people that set up, their perspective is the other way. They look at how many people show up at shows and what those people are buying, right? So when I talk to people at shows, when we have shows and stuff like this, we're talking from the attendees' perspective for the most part. When I talk to people who set up at shows, like I say, they're thinking about it in a whole different way, like what their competitors are setting up or the other people setting up, and then the experience they have with their promoters, let's say. And then every once in a while I get to talk to a promoter, and then their experience is completely different, because they've got to think about insurance and parking and the costs of these buildings. Every day there's a new show for video games or for construction equipment or for horses or for off-road vehicles or something that wants that weekend. And these gun shows have been there for a long time, so they usually get their weekends. But if they're not cutting it, and this boat show can come in and give the facility more money, then guess who's getting cut next time around? So when you talk about to these different levels, the shows are doomed almost in a couple of different ways. So I'm hoping that I don't know. It would be nice to see shows change so that the people that show up to sell have a different reason, a different focus, or a more enlightened perspective on it. And then the people that show up, of course, are going to start showing up once the shows change, or potentially could start showing up in droves again. And then, of course, that changes it. And once you've got a lot of people showing up for the show, that brings more people to sell. And once you've got more people selling, more stuff going on, that should bring more people again. And then once you've got more people showing up, it's easier for these places to secure the facilities. So I think that's really the linchpin is the promoters. And I just don't know. I don't know enough of them anymore. The ones I did know dropped out. So unfortunately, the ones I know, I wasn't able to encourage them to keep going or change their mind on what to do it with shows. But, we'll either see shows evolve or we'll see them disappear, I think. I mean, I hate to say it, but I think that's...
No, and that's exactly what they'll either evolve or die. That's pretty much... Mm-hmm. That's like you said, unfortunately, that's the truth of the matter. And, I know that there's a bunch of gun channels members, and we've talked about this before. It's like sure, there's more than two nickels to rub together as far as the amount of gun channels members goes, but in the space and time of things, like we are a very small number by way of comparison. You know, but I can count all the times that anybody out in the chat talks about, hey man, you know what? I was able to go to the gun show this weekend. You know, I had a chance to go one of the days, or I got to go. I went all weekend. You know, same things with the guys on YouTube. You know, you get to see it every once in a while in the comments, in the live chat and stuff like that, and it's very reassuring because that means that some people do care. You know, they you know, and for a while there, if you remember when the ammo shortage was happening and there was ammo resellers, gun shows got a little bit of I don't want to call them a black eye, but there were some people that were going to those gun shows and they were price gouging and stuff like that.
Well, no, gun shows got a fatal stab in the abdomen during that time. So what happened was your bulk sellers would show up. Why wouldn't they? They don't have brick and mortars for the most part. They've always have, you know, sold at gun shows. They keep their stuff in warehouses and they move it out to shows, and then they put it away in warehouses and they bring it out to shows, right? So that's a business model that works for them, and because of that, they were able to, you know, they have either the whole what do you call it, the inventories or the wherewithal, you know, because of their purchasing power to continue to get ammo during those things. So they either owned enough or they were able to get enough to have ammo where the stores couldn't, because the stores are dependent on the standard distribution through
on current levels or whatever, you know, like this week, next week, last week kind of a thing. Whereas like you're talking about that
is well, there's nothing stopping a store from bulk, or what you call it, wholesale or warehousing a bunch of ammo, but just most stores don't bother, right? Because they're hand to mouth. It's just the nature of
it. It goes on the shelf, it goes out. It goes on the shelf. It comes in, it goes on the shelf, it goes out. There's no long-term storage for those things, like you're saying, if I'm understanding correctly.
I guess, but what I'm really saying is I don't think that the bulk ammo people at gun shops saw that 2013 was happening and you know, rubbed their hands together like an evil scientist and said, ha ha ha, we can profit now. I think they just happened to be the place that had ammo, and everyone flocked to the place that had ammo. Now that happened to be at gun shows. Like I say, that's just the way they did business. So what happens was you go from gun shows being a place where a lot of people get together, and like I'm saying, politicians would show up, local groups like Scouts and 4-H and local ranges and gun owners advocacy groups. You know, all those places got together, and it was a place for them to network and get together. And then of course commerce, right? So you get this change where instead of people coming for all those various things, people were coming to get that ammo. They were scared. New people were coming out of nowhere. Everybody who'd ever been to a gun show knew that's where they could go get it. So everybody was coming back, and everybody was coming for the first time. They were getting in line. They were getting in line to buy a ticket to the show. Then they were immediately getting in line for the ammo place, the bulk ammo place. And then they were getting in the line to get out of the place. And then they were getting in the line to get out of the parking lot. So they basically, that phenomenon changed shows from being a place where collectors and wanderers and interested people and people that just wanted to have a weekend activity came and gathered to a place where this commodity was exchanged. And what that did is it, like I say, it stabbed the shows in the abdomen. They started to bleed out. It altered the shows immediately, and they've been crippled since. And there's now no concern or no panic to buy. So the bulk sellers are still there, and you know they didn't do anything. It wasn't their fault. They just happened to be the ones who had ammo, and they still happen to have ammo. But there's just not that stream of people. But what happened is all the lack of collectors coming in, the lack of, even if collectors were there spending money on collectible stuff, they were spending all their money on preps. All the people that came to shows in order to sell collection stuff started to dwindle. So now you've got only the very few of those who are either wealthy enough or determined enough to continue doing it.
I didn't even think of that. They weren't able to continue because either they weren't selling their stuff because people were, like you just said, were literally coming there to.
They spent their money on ammo and not on just you know, World War II stuff or the newest knife or some kind of camping supply or ammo for some other gun. They were in there buying 9mm. Again, it's not like anybody intentionally did it or it was just a thing that happened. But anyway, that's what happened. So now you've got shows that are basically dry rotted, where the core of the shows, which used to be just individuals selling their stuff, like garage sale type of stuff, and then your people that would basically sell at shows, and they were usually people that had a garage full of interesting World War II shit or old single action shit or some kind of, you know, hunting crap or whatever it was, and reloading stuff and all the stuff that people would show up with. They spent months and months and years really not selling anything, so they quit going to shows. They started a sign business. They started doing commercials, you know, for internet or something. They did something else with their time, and we've just lost a lot of that. So now shows are trying to recover, I guess. I don't know what they're doing. It seems like they're floundering in a lot of ways. You've got your gun shops that'll show up, but they have to usually mark up or do something. They can't just give away guns just because they're
right.
You got your,
I mean, it's still a business in the end. You don't go into business to lose money. That may be the way it happens, but you usually don't try and do that on purpose.
well, unless it's just a mom and pop, then you've got employees that after they're still getting paid to be there. The table costs something. You still got to pay insurance for that guy. You still got taxes and everything that happen, and your lights are still on at the shop. So,
oh yeah, because somebody's at that store too, trying to stay open and sell and do.
Yeah. Unless it closes, you're basically doubling your bills on a weekend, and unless you're making enough money, you're barely covering it. So it's tough for even gun shops to show up at shows. So anyhow, shows are not necessarily a given, and of course they're the most important things we got, because number one, it's the only place that if FFL is legally able to do business outside of their brick and mortar. So they're crucial, and that's a reason they target gun shows. One of the reasons they target gun shows specifically, because they know if they remove them or if they make them unappealing, then they force gun shops to only do business in their brick and mortar.
You mean the gun show loophole? You mean that thing that they've been trying to push their freaking agenda? And I'm talking, when I say they, I'm talking the antis.
Well, sure. I mean, that's a gun show loophole is the concept that you can buy things from a private seller at a gun show, but that's why they're trying to kill gun shows. But then, or that's what the excuse they use to kill gun shows. But like I say, I think one of the ulterior motives is to remove a place where these shops can do business, make it more difficult for these places to do business. A lot of shops depend on shows. Even if they are extra expense, they are extra income, and a lot of times, you know, that's like
sometimes they get to cover a different side of town, right? Or a different demographic or something.
Tucson shops go to Phoenix. That's like an extra week's worth of sales in a month. A lot of times, you know, if there's one gun show in Phoenix this month, all the shops from around will go to that gun show. They get all the Phoenix customers. It's like they open up shop in Phoenix for a weekend.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That totally makes sense.
Anyhow, so yeah, there's lots of things we'll talk about with this, and we'll talk more about it in coming weeks. But yeah, let's not forget about gun shows. I always say, if you ignore gun shows, they will go away.
Mm-hmm. Smegs, you still there, buddy?
Yeah, I'm still alive for now.
All right, good, dude.
Doing a good, Bob.
Yep. What do you want to go to next, G?
Let's do a gun movie of the day. So every day we'll try to mention a movie that you might not have seen in a while, or if you're a youngin', probably haven't seen yet. I don't know about this one though. World War Z. I think probably everybody's seen this one.
I assume maybe incorrectly that there is a good portion of us out here that have seen this for sure.
You seen it, Smeggy?
Yeah, I've seen it. It's all right. It's a zombie movie or whatever.
I'm going to stand by that. Of course, the book was better, but that's the standard response for this movie. But I'm also going to say that I enjoyed it. There was a different take going on. It wasn't like they were super fast zombies like in some of the other movies that were out there. They certainly weren't slow moving zombies. But the fact that what the twist was pretty good. Now the ant building taking down of the chopper that you saw in the trailer, like you didn't get to see that very often in other zombie movies. So there was at least a different application of the zombie in this movie. So if I'm ever in the zombie apocalypse, let's just say I want them to be the slow moving zombies. I do not want to be in the zombie apocalypse if they're the fast moving zombies. Just saying. But I definitely liked it.
I'm gonna give it 1 thumbs up because of like you said, the book was really cool, and the way the book was written, it was kind of just a more Jack Bauer maybe, or what is that guy, Jason Bourne type of thing, seemed like almost.
But if you think about it like this, it was all like stories from the road, and this was the guy collecting all the stories in the book,
exactly.
right?
And they could have done it without. Well, they basically, I think Yankee was always bitching about this, that they made it into who's that guy? Tom Cruise?
No, it's Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt. They made it into a Brad Pitt movie.
They did.
All of a sudden, they put him in everything. Where the book is, like you say, it's more like the guy is the hub, but it's about all the different things that describe the situation that happened to the world. And I think they could have done a really good job of doing that. Instead, they turned it into a star movie for the summer or whatever, and turned it into like a blockbuster type of thing. And and like you say, it doesn't make any sense that a bunch of they have a hive mentality all of a sudden, and humans don't have that. Animals don't have it. So why would we turn into like insects? It doesn't make sense. And how they.
Here's one of the most positive things about that movie, G. That movie, a zombie movie, had like $100 million budget or whatever. So to think that there would ever be a zombie movie, a summer blockbuster, and have a huge budget, like as far as I know, that's the largest budget of any zombie movie ever. Like ever. So to me, it was good in that aspect that it was finally somebody willing to take, because I love zombie movies. I mean, dude, it's clear. We've discussed that before. So I did like it. I'd still give it 2 thumbs up. Again, I say that it's not as good as the book. It could have been better. It didn't even have to really be called World War Z. I do like my name in the title, so I'm kind of cool. I thought I might be partial to it that way. Slight bias going on. But I also heard that there might be a World War Z Part 2 or whatever coming out. So I just like the fact that a studio was able to roll the dice on a huge budget on a zombie movie, which they usually don't. If you ever notice, like they're usually somewhat cheesy, and let's just say that the budgets aren't always prolific. So to me, it was a good sign. I don't know that they actually made all their money back though either, unfortunately.
All right. Well, I don't know. I'm not that much of a fan of the zombie genre, I guess. Then, so
would you recommend it to anybody?
Yeah, it's one of those, like I said, I think we said the other day, like something you'd watch on a Saturday afternoon or something if it's on. I don't think I'd say go buy it or anything.
Okay.
The book I really like. So if we're talking the book, then heck yeah, I listened to the book on tape. I forget if it was going to Vegas or something one time.
Oh, that'd be perfect.
Like 8 hours or something. So it was for 6 hours. It was basically, we listened to it on the one way to Vegas, I think. And it was pretty cool. I really thought it was cool. I'm not a zombie person, so I didn't know if I was going to like the book, but enough people had recommended it as just a survivalist type of book. And that's where I think it really is more of a survivalist type of like end of the world.
Oh, yeah. Max, shit, what is his name? I don't remember the author's name. It's Max something, but yeah, it is more of how he wrote it. It's basically like
it's the son of that director, right?
No.
Yeah, he's the son of the guy from those movies.
That is not Max Romero, right?
No, the guy from those funny movies y'all like from back in the day.
The funny movies.
World War Z.
Corman? No. I got one of his books here somewhere. I'll find it in just a second. But yeah, it was George Romero got me with Night of the Living Dead, dude. That's I've been a zombie fan since
Max Brooks. He's Mel Brooks.
Max Brooks. Mel Brooks. What? No way.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You're kidding. Like that's not coincidence. That actually is Max Brooks.
Son of comedy filmmaker Mel Brooks and Anne Bancroft.
Wow.
His book in there or whatever. That's how he got a book written, and it went. That's how I'm assuming he got a book to be on the thing. I mean, it's a good book though.
Oh, he does. He's a good author. Absolutely.
Yeah, I thought you knew that. So I don't know how I remember.
No, that's amazing. And yeah, No's out there, and he just reiterated that. No shit.
Well, No's saying that he is credited with starting the zombie movement or the zombie.
Well, like when think about it, like 5 years ago or whatever it was, maybe 6-7 years ago, even when like the zombie thing went crazy. Like literally, everything was zombie green.
Well,
it's when The Walking Dead came out.
Well,
Like,
that's what I'm saying. It's before that show. That show was
Yeah.
the reason to the popularity of Zombie Green,
Yep.
and then
Yep.
it went crazy on its own.
Yep.
Yeah, I've never been a fan, but I'll acknowledge that it was a good book, and I'll give the movie 1 thumb up because I don't like the zombies in it. The rest of it was okay.
fair enough. Smegs, what'd you feel about World War Z?
Yeah, I'm around that same thing. Like I said before, it was like, it was okay. I don't know that I'd go out of my way to watch it, but flipping channels if it's on, I might stop and watch it.
There's enough action. I'd watch it again for sure. And I
But
don't.
I mean, I've seen it a couple of times actually, but
Yeah, I've seen it
it
like 3
wasn't
times.
like I went out of my way to watch it.
I've seen it like 3 times. I couldn't tell you really what happens. I could probably tell you more about what happens in the book because I absorbed the book more than the movie. Was just ultimately frustrating because it was just a bunch. Was it even in stuff in the book? I think it was kind of based loosely off the book, but
Yeah, it
wasn't really
veered.
from the book.
See, now I'm gonna have to go try and find that audiobook. That's one of the things I always tell myself I'm gonna start doing more because I don't really.
What's
I
nice
don't
about
really sit down and read anymore, which I need to start doing that again. But
Yeah.
I know you've been talking up audiobooks, and
well,
I
what's
should
nice
at least
about
do
this
that.
one is that it is short stories, so it's definitely the kind of thing where if you listen to it at 20-minute chunks at a time, half an hour, 20 minutes, 10 minutes even, you're going to still get a chunk of it. And then even if you have to like barely rewind a little bit or fast forward a little bit to make it more palatable or whatever, chop it up. But it's not the kind where if you start listening to it, you have to remember everything through the whole book. It's a bunch of little pieces that kind of just get sewn together.
Vignettes. And I'd like to address Vroomtastic over on the YouTube side. Didn't he also write the guide to surviving the zombie apocalypse? That's like a practical survival guide. Yes, he did.
That one was first.
I have that book. I do not have the World War Z book. I do have the guide to survive the zombie apocalypse. No, I think World War Z was first. I'm not 100% because I didn't own the books when they came out. It was after the fact kind of a thing. So.
All right. Well, next.
And contrary to both of you gentlemen, I'm definitely and certainly at the time was definitely into zombies for sure. Still kind of am. I like all that stuff. I find it light and entertaining.
Hey, I'm into zombies. Don't lump me in with that.
Oh, okay. All right.
So that'll take us to the gun of the day. We got a suggestion from the YouTube side, so we're going to do the MTS 255 revolving shotgun. You all heard of this one before?
Can you say it one more time?
MTS 255 revolving shotgun.
Okay, so now is it the one with the stock or is it a pistol? What do we got going on here? What is the deal here?
Both.
Or is it like a circuit judge?
Look on my screen. It's both. There's it looks like a circuit judge kind of, but then there's also the sawed-off version that looks like a cooler version of the. Actually,
do me a favor. Click that one with the wood next to the one with the cylinder that's open. Yeah. What's the deal on that thing?
This looks Photoshop.
Oh, okay. Well, then maybe go to the other one. I wanted to see a decent picture of it.
I think this is probably the best real picture of it, if there is such a thing. So it looks like it's a Russian shotgun with a revolving thing with some sort of a shroud up here. So at least unlike the circuit judges, you don't burn your wrist off.
I always wondered that about the circuit judge. I'm like, how do you not get that blast all over you?
There is a little shroud on them too, but anyway, so I had never heard of this thing before. I think he challenged us with one that no one's heard of. Bob might have heard of it, but yeah, he stumped me on it. I had never heard of it.
Man, that pistol looks cool right there, dude. I ain't gonna lie.
This kind?
Yeah, that looks like a boomstick. Boom.
I wonder if it's that crazy Russian. It looks like a Russian 410 or something, though, doesn't it?
Could be. Very interesting. MTS 255.
Okay, I guess you can get them in 12, 20, 28, 32, and 410. So.
Ooh. A revolver and 12 gauge? What?
Yep.
Well, I think with that though, at least that'd probably be the stock model. You know,
You would hope. Boy, would you hope.
because that's honestly, I think those ones looked kind of cool. You know, the shotgun version, the long gun version, I think looked cooler than like the handgun.
Well, I'm going to definitely go with more practical and probably less painful to fire. I'm definitely going to agree with you on that. I'd like to shoot one of those, actually, if ever given a shot.
I wonder. But I didn't really look at the Wikipedia when you had it up there for a second. But what time frame was this thing like designed or whatever? Like, is there a reason they went revolving instead of just like a pump shotgun or something?
It says designed in 1993, so no.
Huh.
Do it probably. We're getting feedback from the YouTube side that audio book of World War Z is available on YouTube. So if you want to grab that off YouTube, you can. Sounds like. Oops. Good.
And I think Angry did reiterate on Gun Channels that the survival guide was first. So I am corrected on that.
All right. Well, you can still stick around.
Appreciate that.
All right. So that'll take us.
Dude, you don't want me in the zombie apocalypse. Trust me.
That makes Angry American today's tactical hot corrector of the day.
I stand corrected.
Are you copywriting this shit? Jumping in here and copywriting shit? All right. So speaking of that, let's talk about Wednesday's technical quiz. We had a technical quiz on Wednesday. We did it as email your answers in type of thing. And it was, 4 clues, audio clues that were snippets of songs that have to do with guns in some one way or the other. And how many people do you think sent in responses to that? Keep in mind, we probably had
like a 7.
Keep in mind, 700 or 800 live viewers, and then another 13 or 14,000 people listened to the podcast that evening.
I'm gonna say 2.
No, you'd be 100% off on that one.
1? We have one winner?
We had one entry.
Oh.
One person that even ventured a guess. So I guess we can audience shame now that they're all too scared to even.
What the hell, people?
Guess.
But now, wait a minute. Was the one person even correct?
It was Angry American. Do you think he was correct on all 4?
Well, he says.
I think he got 2 out of the 4.
I'm going to say 3 out of 4.
Nope, he got 4 out of 4. So,
right on. Good job, dude. Way to audience participation. See, that's awesome.
So you're gonna do your thing there, or do I have to be like a Dano here?
Well, I don't know what the. You see, that's the tactical pop quiz hotshot. I don't know what if you win the tactical quiz, what you're called. What are you called? Combat master? What are we calling that person?
Isn't the first Wednesday somebody's won?
Well, you know what, Angry American, that makes you the last hotshot of the week. So good job, dude.
There we go. Way to make it awkward. All right. So
he's getting all sorts of titles today.
He's racking them up.
Yeah.
All right. So now we'll go on.
I'm sorry. No, be nice. Play nice. Never mind. I take that back. You do what you do, bro.
We're gonna quickly slip in a healthy tip. So keeping in mind the most.
Hey, whoa. Rephrase that.
Just the tip. We're gonna on the part that the only part of the firearm that's important is part that pulls trigger, and if you can't get your firearm to where you need it to be, then why do you even own them? So with that in mind, I like to throw a healthy tip out there every day, and today's is focus on the long term, set a goal to walk to. So I saw something, I think the Green Gray Foundation was doing some sort of 1,000 mile a year or something like that. And we've talked about in the past doing monthly goals. So I never thought about doing a yearly goal. So I'm looking at my phone to see if it will tell me that. And I haven't actually looked. Have y'all ever looked at your phone app that keeps track of where you're at, tell you how long you've walked or whatever?
I do not have that app on my phone.
Yeah, nor do I. So I just judge on how tired my legs are.
I can only do months on mine, but it wouldn't be that hard to add up 12 months and do years, because it looks like it will go back. My phone at least goes back to 2014 for me. So anyway, I think that's kind of neat to think about how much you walk in a year. And I imagine stuff like that just gives you a better perspective on how much you can walk, right? You know, if you're used to walking 5 miles a day or something, you know how much you can walk if you had to. Anyway, that's the healthy tip today. Think about walking more, and then keeping track of how much you walk so that you can use that to gauge, I don't know, if you're getting better or not.
I don't know if this has anything to do for gun history, one with the other. And I don't even know if it's like this day in history, like if it's because I didn't put those in there. But I was going to do that next.
So we have two of them in there. They have nothing to do with each other. It's just that one of them, we missed one the other day. So,
well, how do we know that one didn't lead to the other, man? They're 100 years apart.
Wait, what's the other one?
Well, one is in 1910, the Boy Scouts of America was incorporated. Okay.
Yeah, and that was February 8th. So we did miss that one by a few days. So we had an email come in to remind us of that. Thank you for that. Unfortunately, we didn't put it in there in time. So,
but we're all big proponents of the Boy Scouts of America in here, I believe.
Oh yeah, so I think it's worth mentioning. Scouts is a pretty good thing. It used to be. I don't know. Do we have people out there that have kids in Scouts now? I'm assuming it's still cool. And if it ain't, you can make it cool. From my experience, the thing about Scouts was it's a framework, and each troop, each unit of, I don't know, however many kids, 20 kids or something in a neighborhood, or that, were near a school or a church or whatever it was, they had the opportunity to make their troop however they wanted it to be. So, and you had the ability to move to a different troop. So if there was a troop that liked camping and you liked playing soccer, then you would just find a troop that played soccer more often and move to that troop. So same thing if I don't know.
Most of ours was usually central around where we lived, and
it always was. But depending on how much population there is, you can always drive a little bit further and go to the next.
Oh yeah, I hear you there.
So I'm just saying it's not something that's set in stone. So I don't know if we got a lot of people that are into scouting here, or if they've dabbled in it and didn't like it and moved along.
Scouting has robotics and underwater operated vehicles and all kinds of stuff that they can do now. Like at it's not Scoutorama, but when they have their national jamboree or whatever, I had seen a program on it. Like they're still doing the rappelling and the archery and all that kind of stuff, right? But one of them was literally, oh yeah, these guys are the ones that are building the underwater ROV. Yeah, they're going to test it in the pool over here where the other guys were earning their breaststroke badge or whatever. So it's changing and adapting to some degree for sure.
Well, yeah, but that's the whole thing of Scouts. So Scouts is you have ranks that you go through, and in order to earn rank, you do stuff. So some of it at the beginning is structured and more regimented, and you have to do certain things. And then a lot of it is citizenship and first aid and scoutcraft and stuff that is kind of basic Scout stuff. But as you get older, just like in school, you get more electives. Let's say you get to choose. You need to get 10 badges or something, and 8 of them you choose. So then you get to go pursue whatever it is you might be interested in. And the same way that each individual Scout can go to pursue whatever they're interested in, you'll find accumulations of Scouts, troops will do the same thing. So that's where I guess I was saying, if you've had experience with Scouts and it wasn't all that great, I would at least encourage you to try it again, test to see if there's a different troop nearby or something, because troops next to each other have almost nothing to do with each other. Almost, in fact, if anything, it's usually a lame troop and then a really cool one and then a lame one and a really cool one, because the cool people end up going together and the people that are just doing it for the lame stuff end up going together and just being lame together. So if you went to one that was kind of lame, keep exploring them, because there's, again, I guess there's always different circumstances, but for the most part, there's always options out there. Now, it might be totally lame. I haven't been involved with Scouts in a long, long time, but back in the day, it was about 50-50 lame and cool, and it was just simply a matter of going over to the cool part, and it was ultimately awesome. And I can imagine it being pretty lame if you had to hang out in the boring parts of it.
Yes. Did you ever watch the movie Scout's Guide to the Apocalypse or Zombie Apocalypse or whatever it was?
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. I don't like the fact that they fucked around with the uniforms. I don't understand why they would. They
might not have, but I don't think that they could be. I don't think that they could technically be the Boy Scouts of America. You know what I'm saying?
But they did stupid stuff that bugged me about the uniforms. So that part was annoying. Because in other words, I think overall it was pro Scouts. They weren't trying to mock them. They were just having a little fun, the way that somebody who had been a Scout might have fun with, their experiences or whatever. They weren't just mocking from afar or from a place of inexperience. But the way that they bastardized the uniform, like you're right, it might be if they made it too accurate, then the Scouts would have got mad because it wasn't an official.
Full on sue because you did not pay for the rights to utilize the Scout uniform. That's a I mean,
I guess that's true.
That's a monetary thing.
Aside from that, though, I thought it was really cool, and I thought as far as I guess you'd call that a low budget movie, they did a pretty good job.
No way, dude. I would not call that a low budget movie. That thing had a decent budget. I'm not saying it had as much as World War Z or anything, but it definitely had a somewhat of a higher budget. Granted, they didn't have a lot of stars. Like that one kid, he was in a movie that I just saw the other day. He was in X-Men or something like that, Apocalypse. So that kid is in movies or whatever. There was the Scoutmaster. He was in movies. There was definitely some stars here and there. I just remember the funniest line is like, she's not a stripper, she's a cocktail waitress. That just, to me, is one of the lines that still cracks me up.
So yeah, what was that called? It's called like the Scout's Guide to Surviving the Zombie Apocalypse or something.
It's something like that.
And I think
it is on Amazon right now.
Yeah, so it's worth watching. All right, so that was the Scouts. They were whatever created
1910 incorporated.
So that is 107 years ago. That's kind of cool.
And then the other thing that happened was in 2010, the United States tested an airborne laser weapon system.
Now that's tomorrow, so you still have time to celebrate that. But how awesome is it? And I got a picture of it. It's basically a DC-10, I think. So they take basically a jetliner, and they put a laser that requires a jetliner to drag it around. They put that laser on the top of the jet, or underneath it actually, and then they fly around zapping nukes. How awesome is that we have lasers that are so huge that you have to drive them around in a giant plane, and we go around zapping stuff with them. That is the coolest thing ever. And I think that was already 2010, right? So that was 7 years ago. Probably have insanely better stuff now.
But don't you remember Real Genius, bro?
I didn't like it, but yeah.
Cheeseburgers makes your boobs bigger. But that was now okay. You might have not liked that movie for obvious reasons, whatever. But again, I found that one entertaining. But that was the one where it's not the plane didn't have the laser on it, right? The plane had the targeting mirrors or whatever, so that it could bounce, I guess. But anyway, yeah, it's a pretty cool concept. And when that came out in 2010, I remember some of the articles and stuff like that. And that was the first thing that I thought of. I'm like, Real Genius it's real now. It's a thing. It's real. So that's pretty cool.
I thought Real Genius, they built a nuclear bomb.
No, that's the Manhattan Project, I think.
Yeah, Real Genius is the nerd kid, and then that other guy who's like the nerd who's also a jock or something. And then
Real Genius is Val Kilmer.
Yeah, but I mean, he's like a nerd, but he's also like the chicks dig him, and then
right, because he's Val Kilmer in the 80s.
But I thought his whole thing was he's like whipping together a nuclear bomb or whatever. So you're saying it was
no, he's the one. It's like the one guy was working on the targeting mirrors for the laser, but they had to change I think they had to go from a chemical laser to a gaseous laser or something like that. Like they had to change basically. Yeah, Laszlo, thanks. Yeah, they basically had to change like their whole thought process about what type of laser they were going to be using and the fuel for it and stuff like that for the energy. So,
is it worth watching again?
I don't know if it holds up, but I mean that's one of them cheesy 80s movies that I like watching anyway.
All right.
You know what I mean?
It was like a rip.
Yes. Oh, and Kent, stop playing with yourself. Oh, excuse me. And Kent, stop playing with yourself. When he was doing the voice of God. Funny stuffs, I'm telling you. Funny stuffs.
All right. So
nice. And DB Cooper, wait a minute. DB Cooper 456 actually just cemented. He goes, Real Genius is a classic. Weird Science is different because that's the one with Kelly LeBrock, and that's the one where they create the woman.
Yeah, Weird Science is a classic.
But she kicked you in the balls. Anyway, yes, we are off topic, but that was because we were so excited about in 2010 the United States testing an airborne laser weapon system, which
I don't care, but the rest of us think it's pretty damn cool. Bob would give it 2 thumbs up because he's all about that kind of stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
All right.
Well,
so
he would care about what type of batteries they used on the laser.
They ran on maple syrup, Bob. Don't worry.
So at this point, we usually try to do the weekly wrap up, and of course, hour something lame or whatever, hour 47 minutes later into the show, we're barely getting around to it. So I don't know. I'm going to go back and talk about some of the stuff we talked about on our show, at least, and maybe some of that we can hit some of the things that.
Hey, you know what? If we need to just send them over to the what is it, Gun Deals page, we can just give them the link for that. I like what you're talking about, how we're going to talk about some of the stuff that we talked about this week on the show.
So yesterday we talked about guns mounted on planes, and we had
Squib load or Squib something.
Squib. So we had Squib on, and he told us all about Marines and marine aviation and his experience with it, which is pretty awesome. And we did pretty much a 2-hour show or something with an hour of it talking about those. I'm sure we're going to have him back on because I'm sure Bob was going to be butthurt that he missed that conversation. So that was definitely worth listening to, and it's great to have a guest on and somebody who has real knowledge about the topic we were talking about. Besides that, I think we talked about meals for training and competition, and then we talked about the shooting events that are coming up. Mostly, though, Marco being at that
Great American Outdoor Show
in Pennsylvania. On Wednesday, we talked about CCW, the best way to transport while running. So we had a little dispute on whether or not that was the best way to transport while gun running or the best way to transport your gun while running. So we basically solved both, though, for your pleasure.
We definitely covered a lot of ground on that.
Then we went into the entertainment section, talking about toy guns. I think we had a pretty lively discussion on various paint guns, water guns, rubber ball shooting guns, dart guns, rubber dart guns, and actual regular dart guns, as well as laser tag and photon. So I think we covered it all in that segment. We had the tactical quiz. We talked about that. Angry was the only one who even had the cojones to even try to answer the 4 clues.
That's what a winner does. They win.
Yeah. They understand the rules, and then they participate. So that was email 1, though. So we left the people that were listening via podcast participate. So I'm not sure. Maybe we don't need to do that in the future if they're not participating. But maybe when you're podcast listening, it's not convenient to email. Maybe you're doing something with your hands.
Good question. We'll have to revisit that thought.
What do you do with your hands when you listen to the show, Smeggy?
Wait a minute. I don't want to know.
Well, when I was on during the day, I was, working on the computer and stuff, clickety-clacking. But now at night, I don't know. I'm playing a game on my phone right this second.
That's a little feedback, so that's good to know. All right, so then on Tuesday, we talked about the Hughes Amendment. We updated that a little bit, talking about the petition. Really, we tried to encourage people to go sign that petition, and about 60 to 90,000 people signed it since that Tuesday show. Now, some people like to take credit for that, who also happen to have shows on Tuesday.
Because they what do you call that, shirt-tailed or wet or
coincidentally. But
I think the Daily Show and Hit or Miss Tuesday nights 9 o'clock can share credit for that. I think it's right? About 50-50.
That's 9 o'clock Eastern, because I'm pretty sure our show starts at 7 o'clock Eastern, which would have been 2 hours before.
Would have been first, but yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, you guys kind of warmed up the crowd, and then they were like, I might do it. Then when they heard us say it, they were like, okay, now I definitely am going to. I think that's how it happened.
Okay.
So we appreciate the lead-in, though.
So wait, are you saying that you were the Van Halen to our autograph? Is that what you're really saying?
I don't know what that means.
Opening act. We come out and encourage people to buy the Hit or Miss T-shirts in a beer before the the Hit or Miss show starts.
Well, we're almost to Monday because we can't forget about hashtag Poco Ghibli.
Yeah, my shirt shipped today. I'm so excited.
Good idea, bad idea. Disassemble the ATF. I think we had a little disagreement on that one.
Oh boy, yeah, that was
discussion though. I appreciate that one.
Then we had our Q&A. We have a Q&A every Tuesday. We leave that segment of the show for anybody that might have a direct question for the hosts or just a question to throw out there to everybody. We also kind of leave that segment wherein we have a scheduled guest. We can kill that segment and bring a guest in for a good portion of the Tuesday show. So stay tuned for more of that as we go forward. I guess that's a good time to mention for anybody that might still be listening. I know we're digging into a longer format show tonight because it is Friday, I guess, and we're board. But if you are still listening, you might be interested tomorrow for all our Patreon members. We have a scheduling show scheduled. So we're going to get together tomorrow and schedule out the last couple of weeks of February's shows, and then dig into March and try to ideally get as much of the March shows scheduled out as we can. Because as a team, the hosts have kind of, I guess, we've decided to go to the strategy of scheduling the show out as far as ahead as we can. It's practical, so about a month, and then that way we have some time to schedule guests. So we kind of had an impromptu guest this week with Scars. Oh, I keep saying Scars, Squib, and we hope to have at least a guest every week going forward. Because as much fun as it is to have, to host the show or whatever, we're not doing it to increase our whatever coverage. We're really trying to create a platform that's informative and entertaining. So we only have limited knowledge, so we really do want to bring subject matter experts on, and hopefully that'll add to the show for everybody. So anyway, that's this weekend, same time, so 5 p.m. my time, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. We'll be getting together and scheduling. Okay, so I guess that was
Tuesday.
Spinned off the Q&A thing there. So we're heading into Monday, which was, we started out the week doing exactly the opposite of what we're doing now. We talk about what we're going to talk about. Then we talked about how to use social media. This week we talked about specifically some of the Photoshop programs, GIMP, free software that you can download off the web. It's open source, so it's free to use and pretty powerful. And then Paint, the stuff that's on every Windows machine. It just comes as an option on your machine, so it's already there, and it's crude, but it's pretty powerful. And we talked about a little bit of those software and applications of them, mainly because earlier that day, actually, we had talked about, or we had an hour or 45 minute, no, it was a couple of days earlier. Prior to that show, we had a live show with Matt, Never Enough Ammo, and Travis, and talked about using Photoshop and stuff. So each Monday, we do try to talk about some of the behind the scenes, how to use the equipment or the software or the social media platforms to get gun-related content out there. And again, if you have any questions specifically in any of that kind of stuff, you can always email us at dailygunshow@gmail.com. So lastly, on Monday, we talked about gun tech. And this week, we talked about the $10 part that allows an AR in California to use a detachable magazine when it's opened. And
to be compliant with the new law, yes.
Yeah, to comply with those new infringements, so that somebody who has a few guns can affordably comply with the new infringements.
Right. Yeah, we're not trying to say that the new laws were good on any level whatsoever during that part. We were just trying to say that somebody else was out there trying to help other gun owners out in California, and they weren't trying to, rob or pillage while they were doing it either.
Which, I don't know if I can add to that real quick. I know you're doing the wrap up, but did you guys see there is also one for the AK where it actually, like, the magazine body itself, you attach to the AK, and then there's a knob on the side. You slide that down and kind of lock it in place, and then you put the rounds in one at a time, like from the side. So it's not the best, it's not great, but there are options for AK people as well. I didn't know if you guys out there were familiar with that. It's kind of interesting.
There was one from SHOT Show 2008, maybe, where it was an AR magazine, same kind of concept. You installed it permanently into the mag well, and then the front of it, so like the front edge, was like a door. It was like a sliding door, and you'd kind of pull that down and then pull the follower spring or whatever down, and then you would fill up with like 5 rounds or whatever their limited amount were, and then let go of the follower, and that would shove them back up into the thing. So it was almost like the opposite of loading a stripper clip from the top. It's like you loaded them up through the bottom, close the little trap door, and let go of the spring, and they all would fall up in there. That was on an AR though.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I don't like the law itself, and that's definitely something to work to get rid of and go back to normal, if not even more rights. I like that people are at least trying to do something in the meantime. It's better than nothing.
Now's the subject that everybody's been talking about. It's the chatter of all of the chat rooms, and it is Poco Ghibli. So I guess there is something that it comes from. You guys were nerding out about whatever nerd thing, but it
was animation, if you remember. Remember, it was the top 5 animated movies, right?
Japanese cartoons, and they were blah 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 blah, and they're blah blah blah, and all these people have foreign names, and I can't keep up with it.
So G-Webs went full on exclusionary racist on us
because of my dyslexia, and you're all using these foreign words that I don't. I said something about Poco Ghibli, and then all of a sudden, that was a thing.
Well, because it was fucking hilarious, and then if I remember, G, you hashtagged it first, bro. Let alone capitalized on it by putting it on Spreadshirt. So you too, out in the listening audience, can have a hashtag Poco Ghibli shirt, sweatshirt, and I believe hat potentially. So
no, it's just shirts. But you're right. I'm not above capitalizing on it, but I didn't realize that it actually comes from something you're saying is Studio Ghibli.
Yes.
The thing, or are you just making that up?
No, that's a thing.
All right, so that's what I had to deal with. You guys were saying things like Studio Ghibli, blah, 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 blah. So I said at some point, hashtag Poco Ghibli.
Yes.
Now, I think something, right? It actually does mean like little boobs.
Oh, yeah, what you said is like little boobs or something like that.
I didn't say that. Somebody in the chat kept telling us that's what it is.
I think Travis was the one that translated the Spanish for us.
Wait a minute. What now?
So what is Studio Ghibli?
Like that's basically the Miyazaki guy that did like Princess Mononoke and all that other kind of stuff. Like that was the studio that they used.
What I heard, Z, was I'm going to explain this one word you don't understand by saying a bunch of other words that mean nothing. And I just want to say with G-Webs, you were getting, I don't know, frustrated, whatever the word you want to say, like, oh, I don't know what's going on. I was the one typing them all into the list to keep track of who voted for what. You think any of those are spelled correctly?
Well, whether it's spelled correctly or not, at least if you did it phonetically, you can get it right that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess, but by the time I had to read them back off again, I forgot like why I typed it that way.
Yeah, no worries, man. Because I think PBR and I were the only ones that chose that director's movies anyway. So
I think I like DF2 Dot's suggestion. If anybody else asks me about Poco Ghibli, I'll say you have to buy the shirt before we can tell you.
Nice. I like that. I definitely support that.
Or we have to pass it before we can read it.
Yeah, at least sign the petition or something, and then we'll tell you about it in the future. All right. So anyway, that was a lot of fun, and Match Chat wasn't. So we'll.
Well, and on Wednesday Match Chat, we had to correct a wrong as well from Matt's Wednesday chat. Well, which was the list of manufacturers, if you remember correctly.
I know he's been working a lot, so maybe he's just tired or something, or I don't know, maybe he's just getting older. But
and to be fair, that was an impromptu list. I mean, we just started talking, and all of a sudden we're like, wait a minute, are we compiling a list right now?
And that was right before he had to go into work, if I remember right, on top of it. Like, literally, he had to finish the chat up because, I got to go to work right now. Now.
Where does he get off hosting these chats and then at the last minute changing the rules, or all of a sudden coming up with a top 5 out of nowhere? So I think that's really Matt's the one who's to blame for these situations. He's creating the environment for these situations to take place,
which are sometimes good and sometimes counterproductive. Sometimes
that's usually good.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with good most of the time. Borderline almost all the time. Almost.
Well, we're definitely rambling, but we did get a question over here from Rupand about, is anybody excited about that Ghost in the Shell? So you guys kept talking about it, and if you watch the trailer, you're definitely going to be excited about watching this movie. So I went to watch this cartoon, Japanese cartoon, about whatever you guys are talking about here, Ghost in the Shell. And I couldn't follow one moment of it. Like from the get-go, I was confused. So I don't know if I'm going to like this movie or not.
Why were you confused, dude?
I pretty much tried watching that movie and it was immediately like weird and I couldn't follow it.
Did you read the part where they give the whole blurb at the beginning of the movie, how they give you the background of what time it is and all that, and why things are the way they are?
Well, number one, I don't like to read cartoons, but number two,
there it is, man.
I don't know if they told me that. I may have watched a version of it that had that cut off or edited or something. I don't know.
Oh, well,
that get into it. I just don't remember it necessarily being.
And I think it's on Prime as well. I'm not 100%, but I think it is.
Oh, and that's the other thing. Is it all like what do you call that?
Subtitled?
Titles?
I believe there is a I know there's a subtitle version for sure, but I believe there's also an English dub at some point as well. I usually, since I do speak some Japanese, I usually watch the subtitle version.
So what about Wick one? You guys already seen this, or is it coming out?
No, I may be going to see that potentially after the show.
So it is tonight or whatever. It's already out.
Yeah, I think it opens. I'm pretty sure it opens today.
Okay.
Because I saw that Moon and somebody else in the chat went and saw it and said it was good. And I know that I want to see it, especially before Monday, because I know how it is around here with spoilers. So I do want to try and see it. It's just that I don't know if I want to try and see it this weekend, because usually then with the kids there, it's not as much fun and yada, yada, yada.
Oh, hell yeah. You mean here, like Gun Channels, not necessarily this chat. I think we do a pretty good job of not spoiling stuff.
Yeah, I don't mean the chat. I mean like Gun Channels and social media.
And mostly
whether it's Facebook or YouTube or whatever.
All right, so that's a little bit side chatter, I suppose. We'll blame it on Smeggy and Bob for not being here. Smeggy for running rampant.
Well, as far as Gun Channels today, what do we got? It's Friday, so that means it's Edge of the Week.
We already had Heavy, and we already had the early watch, and wasn't there already a lobby?
Heavy B was already did his show today?
Yeah, he's now figured out that he can just do a show whenever he feels like it. So he does it like in the early afternoon I think he's trying to impress the old ladies that like to go to bed at 8. You know, like that, once Matlock is where they're going to bed. So he wants to have his show on before Matlock.
Wow. Okay.
Other
than that, I think that's, and of course, Matt and Yankee will both have their weekend solo shows. I think on Saturday and Sunday between the two of them. Charles has Liberty Watch and America Armed and Free on Sunday. I'm sure there will be various lobbies open over the weekend. I'm trying to think if there was any. Oh, we're going to do the Patreon show tomorrow. And was there anything else chat-wise?
There is. I'm hoping to, after our Patreon chat on Saturday or tomorrow, have a chat with Pink and Marco. And if Bob is alive, Bob did go to SHOT Show. So we're going to be looking at Pink's pictures, because he took a bunch of pictures. If Marco has any pictures, I have very few, but it's my pictures. And then we'll be relaying all of our fun times at SHOT Show. So
SHOT Show 2017 Gun Channel's photo essay?
More like SHOT Show 2017 vacation slideshow. So
same thing. Photo essay, slideshow. It's all good.
More like you got to sit on your aunt's couch with the plastic on it so you don't get it stained, and then have a warm soda because it's the weekend, and then some unsalted microwave popcorn. So it's good.
Oh God! You go too far, sir. You go too far.
We're gonna have slides, so that'll be tomorrow night. You can look forward to that. So then I'm not sure if we're gonna do anything with Matt this weekend as far as the Gun Channels University, but we may dig into some more how-to type of stuff, because we are trying to encourage people to create firearms-related content. We all had an excellent example of social media encouragement working with military arms channels, urge for people to use that or to act with the White House petition, and we saw 60 to 90,000 people now at some point that went ahead and acted and potentially are out there telling their friends about it. I'd be surprised if it doesn't hit 200,000, honestly, with as fast as it's been growing from zero to where it's going. Not only are the individuals who signed the petition potentially out there telling more people about it, and that's significantly more people that were talking about it just a few days ago, right? But everybody who's out there on social media trying to create content is going to take a cue from Military Arms Channel and see that this is a subject. The Second Amendment advocacy is something that people are interested in. And as we see that number rise quickly like this, I hope it's going to give a lot of us encouragement. I can't see why it wouldn't give a lot of us encouragement. So yeah, we want to continue to encourage people and assist people with how to use some of the social media stuff. It's easier and easier every single day. Any of these hurdles, these mental blocks that it's technically difficult or that there's some kind of strategies to it or any of these things that make it seem complex really are illusions. It's so easy and there's almost no barriers to participating, and there's nothing but advantage by participating. So we do want to encourage people and give them as much assistance with that and encouragement as possible. So that'll be potentially on Saturday.
And I have some breaking news. John Wick is on Sci-Fi Channel right now.
Nice.
First one? First.
Yeah.
Okay.
He just got the little puppy. So it's like 2 minutes or 5 minutes in or whatever.
Excellent.
Okay. So I think with that, we have done the healthy tip. We did gun channels today.
The only other thing was under the trading post. If anybody out there listening to us right now knows who Flippy is, get in contact with him if you want an aim point comp 4, or excuse me, an aim point comp M4 for 500. Give him or he says or best offer. So contact the Flippy on gun channels.
Speaking of Flippy. So have you guys noticed the Flippy dead horse conversation over on the Instagram?
No.
I heard Dead Horse say something about it. He posted a link and it didn't go anywhere.
It went somewhere. Maybe you have to have Instagram installed on your computer or something. But there is some interesting things happening, and it seems like we might need to have a, what do they call that?
Intervention?
Yeah, we have to have some kind of intervention.
Yeah, I don't, man, you know what? And I saw the one comment, but I must have been early enough that there were no other comments yet at that time.
Raphael, an update, 93,745 as of this moment. So
Nice.
Really close to hitting it. I'd be surprised if we don't hit 200 with the amount of momentum that might.
Well, we need to take some of this momentum and send it over to the Repeal the Hughes petition as well.
Good point. All right, so we got lots,
especially since we got some momentum.
Sorry to cut you off there. We got lots of stuff to talk about, and we'll talk about more of it next week. We hope everybody's enjoying the show. We do it every single weekday at 7 p.m. Eastern. It's completely funded and supported by our Patreon supporters. So if you're of the ilk to keep the lights on and keep us growing, head over to our Patreon link. It's in all of our show descriptions. We do appreciate it. We'll have special shows for our Patreon members. We have special giveaways and thank yous over there. And again, you're keeping the lights on, and you're giving us the enthusiasm to continue to schedule this thing out and spend time on it, and obviously do the shows. So thanks everybody for listening, and I think Z can finish it off.
All right, let's see. We'd like to end the show with a quote. We definitely like to thank everybody for joining and participating all week, especially today. This quote is by Jeff Cooper. Remember the first rule of gunfighting: have a gun. Again, thank you, everybody. Aloha. Have a great weekend. Be safe out there. We'll talk to you real soon.
The guys and gals of GunWebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thanks for watching GunWebsites.com.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.